Uday, I think we are good to go. I'll quickly start and set the context.
Yes,
So,
yes.
hey everybody, hi, all the participants. Thank you for taking our time. Hope everybody is safe and fine back home. I'm Somran. I'm a part of the Incubate Hub team. Before we begin, would want to quickly set some context for us to follow. Would request everybody, apart from the speakers, to kindly stay on mute. Once we start the presentation, there'll be a quick introduction. We also have Enterprise Singapore team with us, and we have Uday from Incubate Hub. And while you have any questions, would request everybody to kindly post the questions real time on the chat. Once we open at the end of the session for the FAQ session, feel free to either unmute yourself and ask the questions, or we'll try to read out the questions from the FAQs and try to address them. That is a basic sanity check, and hopefully everybody can hear us clear and loud and the screen is visible. Thanks for that. Uday, over to you.
Thanks, Somo, for setting the context. Good afternoon, everyone. Yet again, this is Uday here, co-founder at Incubate Hub, and we also have Varnet and Kar from Enterprise Singapore. So today's session is about the market entry program opportunity for Singaporean startups, especially for the western region of India, which is the Mumbai and Pune region. Mumbai being the financial capital of India. As such, primarily focused verticals would be banking, finance, and CPG, retail, and likes. So just before we begin, I would request if Kar could just set the context and give a quick introduction also about our association. Thank you. Kar, over to you.
Thanks, Uday. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Just very quickly, I'm coming from the Regional Director from Enterprise Singapore's Mumbai office. Just want to quickly thank you guys for taking the time to join us. So cut to the chase, this webinar is ready to share on a program we've been working with Incubate Hub, a partner we've been working with the past year to really help us design a go-to-market program, with the aim to accelerate promising Singapore startups into the innovation ecosystem in India.
Request Shomo, if you can mute, I think, or maybe others. Basically, people who are not speaking right now, if you could please mute, request you to mute. Thank you. Yeah, Kar.
Yeah, so to cut to the chase, this webinar is ready to share a program we've been working on with Incubate Hub, partner we've been working on with the past year. We're getting them to help us design a go-to-market program with the aim to get you startups or the Singapore companies a foothold into the innovation ecosystem in India. So Incubate Hub has established an online technology platform to manage innovation programs for corporates, and it's one of the most widely adopted platforms in India now, and even across Southeast Asia, to run online innovation challenges. In addition to that, the program, Incubate Hub also work with companies to provide business development support, lead generation, go-to-market partnerships, and market entry into India. And I really would like to reiterate the last line: to provide business development support, lead generation, go-to-market partnerships, and market entry into India. This demand-led program, through this demand-led program, we hope that Singapore-based startups, SMEs, can explore opportunities with the Indian corporates and MNCs. I'll leave Incubate Hub to share more about their program, how they can help you guys, and look forward to a fruitful sharing. I think we're live on YouTube also, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to just quickly ask or just put them in the chat group, and we'll try to address as many of them as possible. Thanks.
Thanks, Kar. So we also have Varnet, and we also have Shomorin, my colleague. Shomorin basically manages the Western region, and he has been a practitioner, so I think he's managed a lot of enterprise programs as such, as well as he manages the success of a lot of programs. So thanks, Kar, for setting that context. And yes, we are really excited to really start this pilot program. which is the Singapore Connect program. What I will do is I will give a quick overview for the guests on Incubate Hub. As Kar has already mentioned that we have been almost for past 6 years have been a preferred partner for corporates to engage into open innovation mandates based on their readiness. Irrespective of whatever readiness corporates have, Incubate Hub partners with corporates and takes them along that journey. And in that process, we've seen a lot of startups who have really leveraged this platform to help get the right solutions for the specific use cases what the corporates might be looking at in their digital transformation or open innovation and sustainability goals. And Incubate Hub is industry agnostic, and that really brings in a lot of flexibility and best practices and knowledge sharing across industries. And that's something which also opens up multiple opportunities for startups. uh, Obviously, we do work, having worked with more than around 60 global Fortune 500 companies, we get global mandates, and we do have a strong focus on APAC. While we work on use cases across the globe for quite a few corporates, what happens is that, when we do a test and learn quite a few times, mostly in, say, India and APAC, those get replicated based on the appeal of the use case into other geographies. So one could look at really the entry into this western region of India as a door entry even for quite a lot of corporates who eventually will implement those solutions either in the Southeast Asia or the other markets. uh, so quickly to tell you, generally as Kar was mentioning, one of the key things as to how we gave various opportunities to startups. We have one-on-one corporate meetings lined up. We have paid POC opportunities which get lined up. Then, we have long-term contracts and joint go-to-market with specific set of corporates and consulting and SI firms. Then we have merger and acquisition opportunities. So we have always seen that there's a lot of co-investment opportunities also, which corporates are interested into. Depends, right? If you are an early stage or even if you are co-creating a specific solution using your IP for the corporates, we have seen that corporates do get interested into investing into either into a growth stage or early stage, leading to very good targets for corporates to have their merger and acquisitions team interested into. So obviously, market entry. We have a lot of global market entry program, and this program is one of its kind, right? We are giving the market entry into the western region, which is the Mumbai and Pune region of India. So this is just to elaborate on what are the 5 unique products targeted at giving you a unique value for startups. Uh, First is startup business development. So for very select startups, what happens is through our open innovation programs and corporate theme-based accelerators, which we have for various industry domains. Uh, you know Select startups do see this as a very good engine to get proactive business development. Incubate Hub as a channel partner for them. And this program is yet another similar kind where we would be working very closely with curated and eligible startups, Singaporean startups, and see that how we can assist and accelerate their process to get access to this market. Then we have GTM partnerships. As I said, while quite a lot of times when we are creating a solution, uh, the customers do choose to use the startup solution or co-created solution products and go to market together. And that's where I think that is something which is another very good launch pad for engaging with a lot of strategic partnerships and alliances which you can forge. Uh, Obviously, B2b lead generation. This is one of the most important aspect apart from market entry. Market entry, obviously, we do work with a lot of government bodies and others to give specific market entry, which I have already covered. But B2B lead generation is something which is a very unique thing. See, today, B2B markets, as you know, the sales cycle is typically anywhere between 3 months to 9 months, or even sometimes more than a year. And how can one accelerate that? How can one get the right introductions? How can one get that insights around, hey, what a corporate is really looking at, what is that they are ready to experiment into, what is that they are ready to really deploy at scale. So both of these aspects are extremely critical. And because we, Incubate Hub being an open innovation as a service specialist, this really gives us a lot of insights into what typically any corporate might be looking at. And that's where the quality of leads, we believe, has been much better in terms of, startups wanting to work with them. It is just quickly to give you an overview about, the industry focus. As I said, while we have a strong focus around about 6 to 7 verticals, in the BFSI, automotive, CPG, logistic, retail, and other non-enterprise verticals as well, we are seeing quite a few good amount of interest. Uh, Obviously, these are the various domains we work at. It's all self-explanatory in terms of the technology. Obviously, all the emerging hard tech and soft tech, and all the emerging deep tech, uh, if you ask me, is where uh, real deployments, or at least POCs, right, wherever someone is wanting to really see if something really fits, that's where we are seeing, obviously, just to mention AIM and LLP, computer vision, RPA, computer vision, then big data analytics, augmented reality, virtual reality, uh, industrial IoT, obviously in the industry 4.0, and blockchain for that matter, in the open banking and the other use cases, to uh, various other deep technologies where we engage into skills. Typically, we have seen that corporates do want to engage in terms of, augmenting their teams when they are developing any new practice internally. And so we have seen that there are a lot of acqui hire opportunities also, which corporates are looking at. Just to give you a quick peek into, various CXO connects Incubate Hub has. Incubate Hub generally works at CXO levels, typically at a CIO or a CTO or a chief digital officer, or corporate strategy development teams of corporates, so who want to engage and draw specific strategies on open innovation for the group companies, as to what areas they should prioritize, and how to go about really spanning out the complete innovation program and strategy. So that's where we engage with the CXOs. Again, industry wise, if you ask me, ITITES, then BFSI, and retail CPG and others, consumer electronics, life sciences, aerospace. So across industries, we have led programs which has really given us a lot of comfort around working across industries in commercializing innovations or
Engage with the CXOs,
Uh, Sorry for that. Now we have, just to quickly give you a peek into what kind of customers we have worked on, right? And we have been working on. Is that if you see the retail and CPG areas, these are the global mandates which we work on, including automotive players like Daimler and Mercedes, and in the financial services space, we have the various brands which are mentioned out over here, including the NPCI, which is the national body, which is mandating a lot of financial products and protocols and standards in India. So we also ran a sandbox for them in terms of so that the UPI 2.0 and 1.0 deployments in India were kind of experimented and commercialized. Uh, yeah, these are the set of corporates. Just to give you as to how in various engagements of our with our corporates, what kind of opportunities one could expect. generally. And these are the past programs where we have really, and the current programs obviously where we are continuing to engage. If you see B2B customer connects, where paid POCs and vendor leading to paid POCs and vendor contracts, so you become a part of an emerging tech vendor for that customer. Strategic partnerships, where people may want to have alliance partnership and join go-to-market partnerships with you. There could be product companies and also consulting firms which actually want to work with you to see that they, as a part of their corporate development, are able to work with you closely on their larger mandates, so that their larger mandates with customers become more feasible. Obviously, strategic investments as a part of the corporate venture capital, that kind of access also one could look at. And that's where we work with quite a few of them in their CVC and acqui-hire space. Quickly to give you in terms of the ecosystem of startups and the kind of work we have done till now, almost around 11,200 plus startups which we have worked with, 900 plus POCs, and almost about 95 plus as and we speak continue to grow this number. So we have a lot of big projects and vendor contracts and GTM partnerships and alliance partnerships forged by corporates with startups. This is a general process, a four-step process which we have seen, and that's the same process which we would also be, when I come to the specifics of the Singapore Connect program, we would let you know in terms of how we have spanned these four aspects, from startup curation to showcasing it to the right personas, so that you're able to work on co-creating, or at least get some good POC opportunities, and or at least get direct scale or a pilot deployments of your products if your point solution is pretty much fitting. uh, Obviously, we will handhold and be with you in terms of how you are working towards getting the contracts, so that what kind of pilot cooperation agreements one would forge, and then leading to the milestones which we have for project deployments, and large scale pilot or vendor contract implementations. So generally we'll have a kickoff, then matchmaking, and deep dive sessions, and obviously expo day. So I think we will elaborate on this when we come to the specific Singapore Connect program. These are the general incubate hub responsibilities, so that you could look at, we work on onboarding startups on our corporate innovation portal. You see a lot of portals, not only the also in the Singapore Connect portal which we have set up. We will showcase it to you. That there also you'll see a lot of corporate portals where you'll see a lot of use cases one can work on. Onboard corporates across the industry and verticals, aggregate right use cases, and this is self-explanatory in terms of what we do. Organizing online startup showcases, both reverse pitches where the subject matter experts and the business sponsors of use cases will explain what they expect out of it, as well as you getting an opportunity with multiple corporates, in typical corporate showcase. Organizing one-on-one startup connects, wherever you see a specific interest, then a deep dive and an exploratory from an exploratory meeting leading to a deep dive to come out with a specific use case of interest. Follow up with corporates for initiating startup onboarding and POC and pilots. Post program will be in touch with all the startups generally on a regular basis to see that how the business why, because this is an iterative process, right? So we will be handholding in terms of seeing how business viability and the solution feasibility aspects of the use cases are built up, and so that leading to right amount of interest and investment from the corporate business sponsors to get into any specific use case. Obviously, you will continue to see a lot of upcoming corporate use cases. This is generally we leverage, as Carl was mentioning, we really leverage the Incubate Hub Open Innovation Portal, which is a platform. We leverage it a lot. It has evolved over the past 5.5 years. So that's something which gives us a multiplier effect, I would say, in terms of getting to the right personas based on the various tags which you would have based on your specific product and solution. These are general just screenshots of some of our customer portals. We have customer success stories. Shomo, if you'd like to quickly cover these. Yeah.
Sure, Uday, thanks. Yeah. So these are essentially a few programs that we have run with different clients of ours, and this basically talks about the engagement timeline, the flow of the event, and typically when we work with any client, for example, in this case, Procter and Gamble, as Uday has already previously called out, this is more in line with a 3-month POC, which typically then goes to scale in 9 to 12 months. So yeah, we've been working with P&G, for example, for the past 3 to 4 years, and we've had an ongoing engagement. So while we also do a deep dive and talk about the specific ESG program, we'll walk you through and show you the different kind of corporates who have showcased and shared the use cases on which you'll be working on. Of course, these are examples, so we will essentially be talking about BFSI largely when we step into the deep dive of the ESG Connect. Yeah.
Thanks. Uh, just to give you a peek into the western region of India, what kind of corporate profiles we are engaged with, and we should be able to get access to. If you see, there are various verticals, and also across large, medium, and small enterprises, depending on what kind of customer segment you are going to be targeting. We should be able to work with you to see that right introductions are being made and use cases are sought. This is again just in terms of how a sample program workflow will look like for 2 to 3 months. And obviously, we'll run through this in terms of having a portal activation which has been done, startups applying to it, to shortlisting, to onboarding, to startup corporate showcases where then the corporates will show interest, to virtual corporate CXO deep dives, one-on-one, to leading to demo days, so that one can identify what are the POC or pilot contract opportunities one can get. So what we look for a startup, right? Based on our experience, having worked with various corporates, as to how and what the corporates look at when they are wanting to work with any startup, right? Based on the strategic intent behind any use case, or the appeal of the use case as to how and to what business function or geographies corporate is looking at deploying that solution, or the problem statement appeal. So we work very closely to refine the problem statement so that startups generally will understand it much better in terms of being able to propose the right solution, right? At times we also go through a lot of user journeys or the whole problem statement journeys to see that we understand what is that really pain point of corporate which needs to be addressed by leveraging an emerging tech or a deep tech or a hard tech. So for that reason, when a startup is there are various facets of the startups which really help seeing that a right fit is being proposed to the corporate for a specific use case. So use case focus is very critical, product maturity, funding, customer traction, startup stage, and the team, as to how the advisory team or the mentors team, including the founders team, and so that one is able to showcase the right capability, right? And that's where we generally look at any startup. These are just some indicative list of startups. In the interest of time, I will just quickly run through them. Various opportunities. We have seen that generally when we introduce someone, and then you are bound to get a repeat business, right? Either through internal referrals at the same customer place, or otherwise you would be able to get some good business opportunities. So this is generally NLP based across BFSI, CPG space, and others, including some large consulting firms and KPO firms where we have introduced and they've got opportunities. Uh, this is again, content aggregation space where there have been a lot of opportunities in terms of, as you see, a premium car generally needs a lot of content aggregation, right? And so we have very interesting use cases which we worked on, and very excited to say that this has been very well accepted for global deployment. Next orbit, again, a lot of AI ML insights into supply chain, logistics, retailers, and price discovery and other platforms, opportunities to such startups. So coming to Singapore Connect program, and what are the next steps? We've already launched the portal. The portal is live. People could go through it, and we will showcase that portal to you. Startups will have to apply on that platform, uh, startups and scale-ups, SMEs, and eligible startups, apply on platform. Then, once we are able to see that the eligibility is there, Enterprise Singapore and Incubator Hub would look at them, who all are eligible, based on which we would be shortlisting and onboarding the startup. There's an onboarding process which we will discuss after this, and then getting started for the program. Uh, these are the this is the general schedule which we have lined up. This is a tentative schedule, and given the current COVID times, one could possibly have some deviation in some of the aspects of it. To go through this, we have today, 14th May, is the SG Connect webinar, which is on. That's where we have gathered. Around 23rd May, right? So the applications are open, and around 23rd May, applications will close. Then about a week to 10 days, we will have all the applications reviewed, followed by onboarding of startups. Uh, where we would also generally have one-on-one discussions with the startups to see that we are able to give them the right program overview and market overview and pitch practice, where we'll work with you closely to see how we could fine tune based on the cultural and the nuances of the western region of India and India per se. So obviously, signing of NDA and payment here, 70% of it, it's very. I would urge you to understand this. 70% of the complete fee is coming through grants. In association with Enterprise Singapore, and so a startup has got a fee of about Singapore dollar 1202 per startup to engage into this program. Then going on, from 4th June, we will again have a round table. That is the tentative date. Right now, we would be freezing on that. We will have a round table with onboarded startups to give an overview on, type of corporates which one can look at. Also, obviously, we will collect the information around what are the corporate personas which you are going to be wanting to work with based on your product or solutions. That's one thing which will happen on 4th June. All this is obviously virtual and online given the current times. Then thereon we will have 2 weeks of startup showcase to corporates in virtual live pitches, where all startups would get chance to pitch their solutions to various corporates, based on which you should be able to get the uh, right interest from various corporates. Followed by, you'll have obviously then corporate deep dives, one-on-one deep dives, and from there on we will see work with you closely from 25th June to see that how and which of them have shown interest to work with you to co-create solutions, or either go for paid POCs and start working on the onboarding and the costing aspects of it. Yeah. So the key eligibility criteria for a startup for this Singapore Connect program, primary requirement is that 30% shareholding has to be by Singapore residents, or by a Singapore entity. So that is a first criteria and an important gating criteria for any startup to qualify for this program. Obviously, we would need you to give us and give the UEN number as well, information about your company. The startup fee, as I said, about 1202 Singapore dollar has to be paid in full when the startup, the curated startup and the eligible startup, it has to be onboarded on the Incubator platform. As I said, in association with ESG, almost 70% subsidized. So I would urge that people could really look at leveraging this. Being a pilot program, we would be running a cohort of about 10 to start, followed by another 10 curated and eligible startups. So that's the current limited number which we have, decided. Okay, that's about it right now. If you have any questions, we are open for any Q&As. You have a contact over Shomo is going to be leading. He is the program lead who is going to be leading the Singapore Connect program. So
thanks a lot, Uday. Thanks a lot for giving us an overview of the program. We will take a quick pause here. I think we've tried to put in a lot of information. So hopefully feel free to unmute yourself right now and ask any questions. Or you can post your questions and we'll want to address that by reading it out. This is again Somrin. I'll be running point on excuse me, on this program. I'm the program manager for this specific program. I focus on FMCG, CPG, and Industry 4.0 as a technology. So yeah, happy to take any questions. I've also posted our contact information both for Car from ESG and Vanet from ESG. And you have my connect and email address mentioned if you want to directly write to me. So open for questions, guys.
Yeah, one could unmute himself or herself and ask questions.
I'll first address Charles's question and then Sanjay, I'll unmute you. Yeah. So the first question we have is, has this program been launched before? Do you have SG companies case studies? So as a program, we are doing this first time with Enterprise Singapore in association with the Enterprise Singapore, but we work on global mandates, which means that we typically work the 11,200 startups that you saw were all global in nature. So most of our programs that we run currently also would be running roughly 7 to 14 programs, and all of those programs are global in nature. So with ESG, this is the first time we are doing it, but previously we have done multiple across geography programs. We'll try to see and look up if we have any Singapore companies that we have worked with, and we'll be happy to share. Sanjay, you are
hi. Can you hear me? Yep.
Yes, please go on.
Yeah, so the question is that, so my focus areas is consumer goods and FMCG companies. I'm already working with global companies here in Singapore, headquarters here. So one of the key things for me is that how do we approach the consumer goods in India? So the MNCs which have, so you have given examples of P&G and Mondelez, which are my target companies as well. do you because there's one program which you have with AB and BAV, and there's a startup paid POCs and stuff like that in there. Is it the similar approach you will have with other CPG companies, or it will be that we can have a direct connect with the key stakeholders in these large organizations which you're working with?
Right. Thanks for the question, Sanjay. So quickly, let me explain to you how it works. So there are different kind of engagements that we have with clients, right? So for instance, the one that you're talking about, AB and BIV, is something that we have just posted, while we have ongoing long-term engagements with PNG and Mondelez. So first, I would want to clarify that we don't white label anything, right? So the expected outcome of any connect, be it via ESG as a program or AB and BIV directly, or maybe PNG WeGrow, which is a separate portal that we run and own for them. In all cases, the approach is the same. It's a 4-step process where the use case, so the biggest difference is we don't typically just do a random introduction, right, to make in essence of time. So what we do is we will gather the requirement or use case from the corporate, and we will evaluate that versus your solution offering, and then we will directly connect you over either we have a portal or a program running or otherwise. So hope that answers your question, but it has no dependability per se on whether or not there's a program or a portal active. We have another question from Ajay. What are, if any, likely risks as a startup? Okay, so Ajay, I can't comprehend any kind of risks per se, but see, for any startup or an SME, this is similar to a sales pitch that you any which ways do. So in my understanding, apart from you running and spending some time with the corporates, there is no other imminent risks that we can call out. But then again, having said that, the good part is as a mandate, when we work with any corporate or a client, the mandate that we have is that if your solution offering matches the requirement of the use case, it's 100% paid POC. So we don't do any free POCs. Of course, you'll have to do a free showcase, which I'm assuming, unless you're a hardware-based company, should not cost you anything. So apart from that, I don't see any risks. So Ajay, hope that answers your question. Otherwise, right again. Next question is from Sharon. So what are the number of pitches are guaranteed for each company when we are on this program? Good question. So currently, the way we work with, we pretty much focus on Fortune 50 and Fortune 500 clients. What we are trying to do is either focus on Indian large corporates or MNCs who are willing to do pilots in India as a geography. Currently, under this program, which is ESG Connect, we have already shortlisted and have a good number of 25 to 35 use cases from 5 to 7 different BFSI and CPG companies. So if your solution makes, for example, sense for all 35, then we will promote and want you to pitch for all 35. But yeah, to answer your question, there's no limitation per pitch. If there is a relevance in the use case and the corporate wants to see that solution, we will map you and you can do multiple pitches. Again, hope that answers your question. Otherwise, again, write to me. One more question is, I am having a new enterprise wellness remote health monitoring. It can be used by primarily enterprises like bank, insurance, transport, and FMCG. What will be your recommendation? Which vertical is most ready to invest? Can we do more than one POC? Sure. I think, see, wellness and health monitoring is something that in line with the pandemic is something that we have recently seen is picking up heavily. And since the agenda of the program is pretty much focused on BFSI and FMCG, and we are very strong in logistics, if that is what you mean by transport. So I think, all verticals would be more than happy to look at the solutions. In the past 6 to 8 months, I think we have done 3 or 4 such engagements. Of course, it was a global solution provider and a startup. It was not based out of Singapore, but yeah, we've done 3 or 4 such engagements. We have one more question from Ajay. Sorry for that. Assuming the qualified corporate leads do not go through, how long will it take for Incubate Hub team to pursue new leads? See, there is that's again a very fair question, Ajay. So again, I want you all the participants to kind of understand what we do and what we promise versus what things that are not under our control. So when we connect you over to a client, we basically ensure that there is an immediate pilot requirement. So it's not something that they're typically exploring. There are, however, exceptions in today's date, and typically the way a large corporate functions is sometimes they would want to reprioritize basis their immediate need, or because of the pandemic, or maybe sometimes the funding gets reallocated and stuff like that. But if there is anything else, what we do is once we onboard you as a part of this program, you still become a part of our network. So the good part is this is not just limited to the ESG program. It's an year-long engagement, right? An ongoing multi-year engagement. So whenever once you're onboarded, we send out newsletters, and our platform is an AI/ML enabled platform. So it automatically will match your solution versus any new use case that comes in. So again, bottom line, irrespective of if this lead takes a lot of time to convert, but whenever there are new leads, typically there can be one lead, 5 leads in a month, or maybe 2 leads in 3 months. So that's very subjective. I can't comment on that. But whenever there is a real-time requirement, you will immediately be notified, or somebody from our team will reach out to you. Can we review the list of use cases before we join? Absolutely. So what I would request is, again, at the top of the chat, I have posted a few references. The first is incubatehub.com. So feel free to look at that, navigate through different kind of engagements that we do, not just corporate. So we work with government entities, we work with academia, right? So you can sift through a lot of use cases and programs. Again, certain programs are privately run. So what you see on the Incubator platform is not limited to just those use cases. To your question, the next link is off the singaporeconnect.incubatehub.com, which is where the programs are. So as we speak, just like we are speaking with you, our team has been working with different corporates. So you can look at all the use cases on the SG Connect website itself. You don't have to go to anywhere else. All the use cases either will be directly posted onto the platform, or you will see another different tab which says partner program. So for instance, AB and BEV's use cases are mentioned as partner programs. So the good part is you can click on a use case, all the required guidelines, including if there is a presentation, what kind of a presentation should be submitted, and all of that information is mentioned there. And then Uday would request you to open one of these use cases. If you can, if you can scroll down and browse all programs, I'll want to show one. Scroll down a little bit. Yeah, browse all use cases above corporate. Yeah, browse all use cases, which is under cash flow management.
Yeah.
I'll just quickly show you what an application looks like. If you can scroll down over there.
Yeah.
Correct. So you can open, let's say, financial transactions. Over there, if you can open the financial transactions. Yeah. So perfect. So that's what the page looks like. Once you go, you will be asked to log in at the top. Of course, if you're signing in for the first time, you'll have to key in basic details about your company, yourself, your name, etc., so on and so forth. If you scroll down where you see the submit application button, sorry, there you have to scroll up a little bit. Yeah. Next to the target geography, where you see the submit application button, that is where you click and you submit the application, right? And again, you'll find all the relevant fields. You can upload your pitch deck directly here. Uday, if you can scroll down and go to the overview. So this is the use case. Scroll down a little bit more, Uday. Perfect. So guys, if you see here, you can clearly see the kind of presentation, what should it entail, what is the key selection criteria, etc. All of this information is mentioned right here. So ensure that when you do a presentation, follow these guidelines, and this is what will be required for you to go to the next step. Next question, I think, Kar, you'll have to take this. This is a question for ESG. While I notice the startup fee is subsidized, if a corporate is keen in a POC, will ESG support?
Hi. Okay, I can unmute myself now. Right. Sharon, I assume you're asking if are you asking about other subsequent grants, or are you talking about whether our office will be following through with you for the entirety of the program? I think the answer for the latter really is we're here. Our office is in Mumbai. We'll be keen to support and go through the processes with all of you guys. It's a small pilot, that's why we're able to do that. But we've always been looking out for partners like Incubate Hub, for the multiplier effect to help as many of you guys as possible. In some instances, I suppose we would, or we might already know the corporate and would be able to sit in also through the whole process. But to address the part about grant support, I don't think that we're able to double incentivize someone for doing a POCs or a pilot in market. Yeah. If not, obviously, if I've not answered your question, you can just write to me or just drop me a text. We can take the question offline after that. Yeah, thanks. I don't think that we're able to.
Shumo, have you given Kar and Vernit's email ID here again? Maybe we could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Shumo.
Obviously, if I'm not.
Hello.
Sorry for that.
Yeah, sorry.
Any other questions, guys? Feel free to raise your hand, ask me to unmute, or post your question. All right, while we wait for any further questions, Uday would request you to go back on the presentation and kind of open the next steps so that I can also quickly once summarize and walk through.
Yeah.
Uday, I'm assuming you're sharing your screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could navigate to the next step slides towards the end.
Yeah,
the 26th slide. Perfect. If you could full screen this.
Yeah.
All right. So while we wait for any further questions, I would quickly walk you through once again to summarize this engagement. The engagement has started today, which means that the website is open to receive all applications. That's one. The applications shall be closed. So the submissions of applications will be closed on May 23rd. What that means is, as next steps, feel free to write to either of us for any further questions. Otherwise, once you share your agreement to sign up for the program, that is what basically the close of application means right now. You don't have to apply on any use case, but as next steps, you'll have to reach out to us and notify us whether or not you're interested to participate. Once that is done, jointly between ESG and our evaluation team and we will all evaluate how relevant the solutions and your use cases and your products are, and we'll try to map it with the corporates and basis a lot of other eligibility criteria for the startups that we have mentioned before. For example, whether or not, if you're a very early stage startup, whether or not you can sustain, how big is the team, do you have a global presence, so on and so forth. So based on multiple criteria, we will evaluate and mark you as eligible after you have shown your interest. Once that is done, we will, which will happen in the time frame of 24th May to 31st May. And then we will kind of reach out individually and notify whoever has been finally marked eligible. Once that is done, between 31st May to 4th of June, we'll do a quick introduction and induction, which is more of a round table where we will gather all of you. While we do this, parallelly, our team is still working to kind of collate all use cases and get more corporate fintech and BFSI clients. So once we have all of that in place, while we do the introduction, we'll walk you through the deep, the nitty-gritties and the granular level of what the program looks like, what the market overview is. We'll help you look at your pitch and maybe change the pitch a little bit. We can make suggestions. Then the tech onboarding part will start, which is you applying on the platform versus we signing the NDA. And that is when the payments will be collected, right? So before we move on and start doing any connects, that is when the payment of the 1,202 Singapore dollars after the NDA signed will be taken. Next step would be 4th of June, where, as I've already mentioned, we'll be covering the online roundtable. And here we'll be specifically talking about the use cases and which corporates will be mapped with what startups and so on and so forth. In the next time frame, which is June 5th to June 18th, we will start doing multiple corporate pitches where, you all will be showcasing to multiple startups, multiple corporates. And that's a very key phase because that's where you will be selling. Right. So once you do that, we will give a week's time for the corporates to kind of evaluate and figure out which startups they would be interested to work with. By 25th of June, we'd hear back from the corporates where they will indicate here are, let's say, a list of 6 startups or 12 startups that we want to engage. Once that is done, you go to the next step, which is the final step, where we connect you for a one-on-one deep dive. So when you do the one-on-one deep dive, essentially you will get to sign an NDA with the corporate itself, because most cases this is proprietary information, right? So which means that the use case mentioned on the website will not have the complete details. So once you do a one-on-one, that's when you'll get to ask all specific questions where the expected outcome is for you to kind of work with the team and come back with a specific solution proposal and a costing proposal. So that is just about it. I think we have exceeded the timeline, and hopefully we have answered all your questions. Again, all connects are mentioned on the DM, and feel free to write to us.
Thanks, Ramo, for getting a little deep into the schedule. Yeah. So I think thank you everyone for joining in today. Do reach out to us or Kar or Varnet. The email IDs have been given over here in the chat. Request you to kindly get back to us so that we can, and also you could start applying on the portal directly. So I think that's about it. Kar or Varnet, you would like to just give a vote of thanks?
Sorry to step in. I think we have 2 more questions. One question has been posted on our platform. So this question is from Aaron. Who are the contacts you have in the corporates? Good question. So we don't work with specific contacts. We work with divisions which are called Open Innovation Division, which typically reports into the CIOs, right? So we work with a team of people who are responsible to drive innovation and other sustainability mandates. So typically we report into the CIO team, but we don't work with one single contact. When we connect you, we will always connect you with the project owners directly, who will be, kind of running point on that project, and not essentially somebody who is not directly related. So hope that answers your question. Yes, Charles, we will be sharing the recording. So 2 things, the recording will be posted on the Singapore Connect website link that we have shared. And also, if you sign up on the platform, we will individually send out the link and next steps via email as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Kar or Varnet, you would like to just give a vote of thanks and stay safe, everyone. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining in.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for